The Great Council Hall was huge, bigger than any building Kim Tae-ho had ever seen on Earth. The ceiling stretched up so high it seemed to touch the stars, themselves hundreds of different alien species sat in their special seats arranged in perfect circles around the center stage. Some aliens looked like giant bugs with shiny shells, others were tall and thin like walking trees. A few glowed with soft blue light that made the whole room feel magical. Kim Tae-ho stood at the human table wearing his best black suit. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Today was the day everything would change. He had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, ever since he became the chief human ambassador to the Galactic Council. The council speaker Vextari floated above the center stage. Her body was made of living crystal that sparkled with rainbow colors. When she spoke, her voice rang out like beautiful music, but today her words were sharp and cold. The council has made its decision, she announced. The human request for equal membership is denied. Your species will remain as observers only. You may watch our meetings, but you cannot vote on important matters. Tae-ho felt his stomach drop. He had expected this answer, but hearing it out loud still hurt. The human delegation had worked so hard to prove they deserved a real voice in galactic politics. They had shared their best technology. They had sent their brightest scientists to help solve galaxy-wide problems. They had even fought in 3 major wars to protect other species from dangerous enemies. Dara Park So-young sat next to Tae-ho at the human table. She was the smartest person he knew, a brilliant scientist who had invented new medicines that saved millions of alien lives, but even her amazing work was not enough to impress the council. She shook her head sadly and whispered, 50 years of service, and they still treat us like children. General Lee Min-ho sat on the other side of Tae-ho. His military uniform was covered with medals from battles he had won protecting council worlds. The old soldier had gray hair and tired eyes, but his back was still straight with pride. He had lost many good friends fighting for species that would not even give humans basic respect. Furthermore, Vextari continued floating higher above the stage. All human military ships must now report to Council security forces before entering any star system. Human colonies cannot expand beyond their current borders without special permission from this council. The alien delegates around the hall made various sounds of approval. Some clicked their claws together, others hummed in harmony, a few flashed colored lights from their skin. These were the sounds of species that had been in the council for thousands of years. They were comfortable with the way things had always been, but Tae-ho had studied galactic history carefully. He knew that many of these same species had once been treated badly by the older council members. The insect-like Zephyrians had waited 200 years for membership. The plant-based Verdanians had been observers for 3 centuries before getting voting rights. Even the proud warrior species called the Drachneri had started as junior members with limited power, yet somehow none of them seemed to remember their own struggles. They had forgotten how it felt to be ignored and dismissed. Now they were the ones doing the ignoring. Tae-ho looked around the massive hall at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked curious, wondering what the humans would do next. Others seemed bored, as if this was just another routine decision. A few actually looked pleased, happy to keep the humans in their place. Then he saw something that made his decision final. In the far section where the newest council members sat, he spotted Ambassador Quintal of the Resonance Collective. The Resonance were a young species that had joined the council only 20 years ago. Tae-ho had personally helped them during their application process. He had shared human diplomatic strategies and even defended them when older species questioned their worthiness. But now Quintal was nodding along with the others, supporting the decision to keep humans powerless. The species that Tae-ho had helped was now helping to hold humans back. It was the final proof that the system would never change from the incident. Tae-ho stood up slowly. The entire hall fell silent. Thousands of eyes, optical sensors and other alien vision organs focused on him. His black suit suddenly felt very heavy, but his voice was calm and clear when he spoke. Honored council members, he began, I want to thank you for making your position so clear today. For 50 years, my people have tried to earn your respect. We shared our medical knowledge freely. We helped end the Outer Rim War. We stopped the AI rebellion on Kepler Station. We built the quantum communication network that connects half the galaxy. We did all of this hoping to become true partners in galactic civilization. He paused, looking around the hall, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. Today you have shown us that no amount of service will ever be enough. You will always see humans as junior partners. You will always treat us like children who need supervision. Vextari's crystal form flickered with annoyed red light. Ambassador Kim, the council's decision is final. If you wish to make an appeal, you may submit the proper paperwork through diplomatic channels. Taeho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. There will be no appeal. Honored speaker, because effective immediately, the Human Federation withdraws completely from the Galactic Council. The reaction was instant. Alien voices rose in a storm of sound. Bug species clicked their mandibles rapidly. Plant species rustled their leaves in distress. Energy beings pulsed with shocked colors. The noise was so loud that the hall's acoustic system struggled to handle it, but Taeho kept talking, his voice somehow cutting through the chaos. We will close our embassy. We will end all trade agreements. We will cancel all defense treaties. We will remove our personnel from all council projects within one standard galactic week. There will be no human presence in council space. Some delegates jumped to their feet. Others floated higher or extended various appendages in alarm. Council speaker Vextari's crystal form flashed angry red and orange patterns. You cannot simply leave, Ambassador. The Council maintains order across the galaxy. Without our protection, without our trade networks, your isolated species will struggle to survive. Taeho began gathering his papers and files from the human table. Dr. Park and General Lee were doing the same. Their movements were calm and professional, as if they had practiced this exact moment many times. With respect, honored speaker, Taeho replied, the Council maintains order for those species that choose to remain under your authority. We are making a different choice. Today, humans choose freedom over security. We choose independence over protection. We choose to stand on our own 2 feet instead of kneeling for scraps of respect. He closed his briefcase with a sharp snap that seemed louder than all the alien voices combined. The age of human service to an ungrateful council is over. The age of human independence begins now. As the 3 humans walked toward the great doors that led out of the Council Hall, Vextari made one last desperate attempt to maintain control. Wait, Ambassador Kim, if you leave now, you cannot simply return when your experiment in independence fails. The Council does not welcome back those who abandon their duties. Taeho stopped at the threshold of the doors and turned back one final time. His voice carried clearly across the suddenly quiet hall. Honored speaker, we are not abandoning our duties. We are finally embracing them. Our duty is to our own people first, to our friends and allies second, and to those who respect us as equals always, but our duty is not to those who see us as servants. The massive doors began to close behind the human delegation as they sealed shut with a deep resonant sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the ancient building. Taeho whispered words that would echo through galactic history. The humans have left the building. Council Speaker Vextari stood frozen in the center of the great hall, staring at the massive doors that had just closed behind the human delegation. Her crystal body flickered with confused patterns of light that she could not control. The other council members sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what had just happened. No species had ever simply walked out of the galactic council before. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, the council had been the center of everything. Important decisions were made here, trade routes were approved here, wars were declared and ended here. The idea that someone would just leave was impossible to imagine. Trade Minister Quoylan of the Tentacle Consortium was the first to break the silence. His purple tentacles waved nervously as he spoke. Surely they will reconsider. Speaker Vextari. Humans are known to be emotional creatures. They make quick decisions when they are angry, but they always calm down and think more clearly later. Admiral Crix of the warrior caste made a low rumbling sound from deep in his armored chest. His species had fought alongside human soldiers in many battles, and he knew them better than most. Council members, you are wrong, Trade Minister. When humans make a decision like this, they do not change their minds easily. They are more stubborn than most species realize. But even Admiral Crix did not understand how prepared the humans had been for this moment. Within the first hour after the human delegation left the council building, strange things started happening across the galaxy. Captain Jung Minsu commanded a massive cargo ship called the Bizan Express that carried medical supplies between the core worlds and the outer rim colonies. His ship was loaded with emergency medicines for a plague outbreak on Vegan Prime, but as soon as he received the withdrawal order, everything changed. Navigation Officer Kim, prepare a new course, he commanded. We are returning to Earth immediately. His vegan passengers were confused and frightened. But Captain, the medicine we needed desperately. Our people are dying from the red fever plague. Jung looked at them with sympathy, but his orders were clear. I am sorry, but we are no longer operating under Council jurisdiction. All contracts with Council worlds are now cancelled. If you want these medicines, you will need to negotiate directly with the Human Federation as an independent government. Similar scenes played out on thousands of human ships across the galaxy. Cargo vessels changed course. Mining ships powered down their equipment. Passenger liners canceled their routes. The humans were not just leaving the Council, they were taking their entire economic network with them. Dr. Yelanara, the Council's chief economist, was working late in her office when the first reports started coming in. Her assistant, a young crystalline named Shender, burst through her door with a datapad full of alarming information. Dr. Yelanara, we have a serious problem. The humans are canceling everything. All their shipping contracts, all their mining operations, all their technical support agreements. They are pulling out of every business deal they have with Council worlds. Yelanara took the datapad, and her eyes grew wide as she read the numbers. This cannot be right. According to this, the humans control 30% of our rare earth mining operations. They process 40% of our medical supplies. Their shipping networks move goods between sectors that have not established direct trade routes. How did we become so dependent on them? The answer was simple but embarrassing. For 50 years, while the Council had been treating humans as junior partners, the humans had been quietly making themselves essential to galactic civilization. They worked harder than most species. They innovated faster than established governments. They charged less money for better services. Slowly and carefully, they had built a network of dependencies that no one had noticed. Finance Director Morgoth called an emergency meeting of the Economic Council. His tentacles were pale with stress as he presented the initial damage reports. In the past 6 hours, we have lost communication with 47 mining stations. 12 medical distribution centers have gone offline. Transportation networks between the spiral arms are experiencing severe delays. The other economic advisors looked at each other with growing alarm. How is this possible? Asked Deputy Director Vexsmith. Surely other species can handle these basic functions. Morgoth's tentacles curled with embarrassment. That is the problem. The humans offered to train personnel from other species. For 30 years, they created educational programs. They offered technology transfers. They even provided free technical support. But most Council worlds decided it was easier and cheaper to just hire human companies instead of developing their own capabilities. By the end of the first day, the scope of the crisis was becoming clear. Communication networks that used human-built relay stations were experiencing delays and failures. Medical shipments to remote colonies were stranded at distribution centers without human logistics coordinators. Defense grids around 3 major sectors reported reduced effectiveness because human technicians had shut down and removed critical components. Emergency coordinator Zeleneth presented the most frightening report to an urgent Council session. 17 worlds have declared states of emergency due to infrastructure failures. The humans have systematically removed themselves from every critical system in our civilization. They did not just walk out of our meeting, they walked out of our entire way of life. Admiral Crix studied the tactical reports with growing respect for human planning. This was not an emotional decision. This was a calculated strategic withdrawal. They have been preparing for this possibility for years, maybe decades. Every human operation had backup plans. Every human facility had shutdown procedures. They knew exactly how to extract themselves without causing immediate catastrophic damage, but with maximum long-term impact. Diplomatic attaché Sylvana made a desperate suggestion. Perhaps we should send a delegation to Earth, offer them some of what they wanted. Not full membership, but maybe expanded observer status with limited voting rights. Council Speaker Vextari's crystal form flashed angry red patterns. Absolutely not. The Council does not negotiate with species that abandon Their responsibilities we maintain our dignity and our authority, but even as she spoke, more bad news arrived. The Andromedan Trade Federation had just announced they were considering direct negotiations with the Human Federation. The Centauri Republic was publicly questioning the Council's handling of the situation. 3 independent worlds had sent messages to Earth requesting immediate trade agreements. Captain Park Junho was the station commander of Prometheus Base, a massive space station that served as a fuel depot and repair facility for ships traveling between the inner and outer sectors. His crew of Korean engineers and technicians had built the station from scratch, turning an empty asteroid into one of the most advanced facilities in the galaxy. When the withdrawal order came, Park began implementing shutdown procedures that his team had practiced for years. Engineering Team Alpha begin disconnecting the fusion reactors. Engineering Team Beta start downloading our technical databases. Engineering Team Gamma prepare the automated systems for remote shutdown. The alien governments that depended on Prometheus Base sent increasingly desperate messages. Commander Park, you cannot simply leave this facility. Services 3 major trade routes. Without your station, cargo ships will need to make dangerous detours through pirate-infested space. Park's response was calm and professional. Then I suggest you contact the Human Federation Diplomatic Corps to negotiate a new service agreement. We are no longer council contractors. We are now an independent facility offering services to paying customers within our similar messages. Were being sent from human facilities across the galaxy, mining stations that provided rare metals for advanced technology, research laboratories that developed new medicines, communications arrays that connected distant worlds. All of them were either shutting down or demanding new contracts with individual species rather than the Council as a whole. The most shocking revelation came when Intelligence Director Korvash presented his analysis to the Emergency Council session. The humans have been planning this withdrawal for at least 20 years. Every major human facility had prepared shutdown procedures. Every important human position had trained replacement personnel ready to take over. Every critical human technology had backup systems that could be activated from Earth. He paused to let the implications sink in. They did not just walk away from us. They have been preparing to walk away from us for decades while continuing to serve loyally and efficiently. No one suspected. Because their service never faltered, their quality never decreased, their cooperation never wavered. They were planning their independence while serving as model members of our civilization. Admiral Crix made a sound that might have been admiration. They played a perfect long game. They made themselves indispensable, then removed themselves systematically. It is the most elegant strategic withdrawal I have ever witnessed. Council Speaker Vextari finally understood the true scope of what had happened. The humans had not abandoned the Council in anger. They had graduated from it. The species she had dismissed as emotional and impulsive had outmaneuvered the greatest political minds in galactic history. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council faced a crisis it could not solve through authority or tradition. The humans were gone, and with them went the invisible foundation that had held Gal. 3 days after the humans walked out of the Council, the galaxy began to fall apart. Captain Han Jiwoo stood on the bridge of his merchant ship called New Soul, watching desperate alien vessels trying to signal him from all directions. His cargo holds were packed with medical supplies that could save thousands of lives, but those supplies were now heading back to Earth. The communication system crackled with urgent messages from dying worlds. Captain Han, this is Emergency Coordinator Veltano. From Proxima Colony, we are offering 10 times the normal payment for immediate delivery of anti-plague medicine. Our children are dying. Please help us. Han looked at his crew of Korean officers and saw the same mixed feelings on their faces. They all wanted to help, but they had their orders. Tell Coordinator Veltano that we no longer accept council credits. We require payment in energy crystals, rare metals, or other hard currency. The Human Federation does not do business with the council anymore. The alien voice became desperate. But Captain, we have served together for years. My people have always treated human traders with respect. And we appreciate that, Han replied sadly. But your government voted to keep us as second class members of galactic society. If you want human services now, you need to convince your leaders to recognize us as equals. This same conversation was happening on thousands of human ships across the galaxy. Merchant captains who had served alien worlds faithfully for decades were suddenly foreign contractors demanding new terms. Independent planets that had always relied on human logistics networks found themselves cut off from essential supplies. The economic collapse was swift and brutal. The Council had built their civilization on the assumption that humans would always be available to do the difficult, dangerous, and boring work that kept everything running. Now that assumption was proving catastrophically wrong. On the industrial world of Kepler 442b, Chief Engineer Park Dong-Hyun was methodically shutting down the massive fusion reactors that powered 3 entire sectors. His team of Korean technicians moved with practiced efficiency, removing critical components and downloading technical specifications. Governor Thexmari arrived at the reactor facility with a convoy of local security forces. His blue skin was pale with panic and his multiple arms gestured frantically. "Engineer Park, you cannot do this. These reactors provide electricity to 60 million beings. My people will freeze in the dark without power." Park looked up from the control panel he was dismantling. "Governor, with respect, your people have had 50 years to learn how to maintain these systems. We offered training programs every year. We sent technical manuals in 17 different languages. We even provided free educational exchanges where your engineers could study on Earth." The governor's mandibles clicked nervously. "But alien technology was sufficient for our needs. We did not think we needed to learn human methods." "And that was your choice," Park said, sealing another component in a protective case. "Now you can learn the hard way, or you can negotiate a new contract with the human Federation as an independent government. Either way, my people are going home." Park's assistant engineer, Kim Jae-sung, called out from across the reactor chamber. "Chief, we have incoming messages from 12 other facilities. The local authorities are all offering massive bribes for us to stay." "Standard response," Park replied. "We are not for sale at any price. This is about respect, not money. If they want human expertise, they can ask the Federation government through proper diplomatic channels." Meanwhile, in the research laboratories of the Outer Rim, Dr. Song Yoo-jin was downloading decades of human scientific data from the shared databases. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls as she transferred terabytes of information to secured Earth servers. Her research partner, Dr. Lim Hai-young, watched nervously as years of collaborative work disappeared from the Council systems. "Yoo-jin, the Science Council is sending angry messages. They say we are stealing shared knowledge that belongs to all species." Song laughed bitterly. "Shared knowledge. They rejected 47 of our research proposals in the last decade. They said human science was primitive and unreliable. They blocked our applications for advanced laboratory access. They assigned us to basic research projects while giving the important work to establish species." She initiated another massive download. "Let them discover faster than light communication on their own. Let them figure out quantum medicine without our theoretical framework. Let them solve the dark matter puzzle without our mathematical models. We are taking our toys and going home." The most dramatic example of human withdrawal came from the shipping networks that connected the galaxy. Human cargo companies had spent 50 years building efficient transportation routes between worlds that had never established direct contact with each other. Suddenly those routes were gone. Captain Lee Sang-min commanded a fleet of transport ships that carried everything from food to industrial equipment across the spiral arms. When the withdrawal order came, he faced a difficult choice. His ships were carrying emergency supplies to refugee camps in the outer territories. Captain called his communications officer, Lieutenant Choi Min-ji. "We have desperate messages from 15 refugee camps. They are running out of food and medical supplies. If we turn back now, thousands of innocent beings will suffer." Lee studied the star charts showing the locations of refugee camps across 3 sectors. "Are any of these camps on worlds that voted against human membership in the Council?" Troy checked her records. "Actually, sir, most of these refugees are from independent worlds that have no Council representation. They are fleeing from the territorial wars in the disputed zone." "Then we continue our mission," Lee decided, "but we make it clear that we are now delivering aid as representatives of the Human Federation, not as Council contractors. These people will receive our help, but they will also receive our message. when Lee's ships arrived at the refugee camps. They found beings from dozens of species living in terrible conditions. The camps had been established hastily when border wars displaced millions of civilians. The council had provided basic shelter but little else. Camp coordinator Zixandra, a member of the Peaceful Harmony folk, greeted the human ships with obvious relief. Captain Lee, thank the cosmic spirits you have arrived. We have been surviving on emergency rations for 2 weeks. Many of our youngest and oldest are becoming sick. Lee supervised the unloading of food, medical supplies, and emergency equipment. Coordinator Zixandra, I want you to understand something important. The Human Federation is providing this aid, not the Galactic Council. We are here because your people deserve help, not because some government ordered us to come. The refugee looked confused. I do not understand the difference, Captain. The difference is respect. Lee explained. The Council treated us like servants who had to follow orders. The Federation treats everyone as equals who deserve dignity. Your people are receiving this aid because it is the right thing to do, not because we are required to do it. Word of human generosity spread quickly through the refugee camps, but so did word of human independence. Independent worlds began sending messages directly to Earth, requesting humanitarian aid, trade agreements, and defensive partnerships. They had seen how the Council treated humans, and they wanted nothing to do with such an unfair system. The economic data that reached the Council became more frightening each day. Finance Director Morgoth presented reports that showed unprecedented collapse. The consortium currency has lost 40% of its value in 3 days. Major trade routes are reporting delays of weeks instead of hours. 17 worlds have declared economic emergencies. Even worse for the Council's authority, political unrest was spreading across member world. Citizens who had never questioned their governments were now demanding to know why their leaders had rejected human partnership. The galaxy's most efficient and helpful species had been driven away by political pride and ancient prejudices. Transport networks collapsed without human logistics coordination. Medical supply chains broke down without human distribution systems. Energy grids failed without human technical support. The infrastructure that had seemed so stable and permanent was revealed to be completely dependent on the species. The Council had refused to respect the Yelanara. The Council economist delivered the most shocking report of all. According to our latest analysis, the humans were not just important to our economy, they were essential. Every major system in our civilization depended on human involvement. We never noticed because they work so efficiently and quietly that we took them for granted. She paused to let the implications sink in. The humans did not just withdraw from our government. They withdrew the foundation that our entire way of life was built on. We dismissed them as junior partners while they were actually holding our civilization together. Admiral Crix studied tactical reports showing the scope of the crisis. This was not random chaos, this was surgical precision. They removed themselves from every critical system simultaneously, but they did it gradually enough to avoid immediate catastrophic failures. They gave us time to see what was happening, but not enough time to prevent it. The warriors' respect for human strategy was obvious. They have defeated us without firing a single shot. They have brought down the greatest civilization in galactic history simply by refusing to serve us anymore. It is the most elegant victory I have ever witnessed. Council Speaker Vextari. Finally, 2 weeks after the human exodus, the Galactic Council faced their worst nightmare. Emergency sessions ran around the clock as species after species reported complete infrastructure failures. But while the Council struggled with crisis management, the humans were busy building something new. Ambassador Juan Seokjin sat in his comfortable office on Luna Station overlooking the blue marble of Earth through massive viewing windows. His desk was covered with diplomatic requests from dozens of worlds that had never contacted humans directly before. The withdrawal had been planned by Korea's finest strategic minds, and it was working perfectly. Sir, announced his aide Captain Yang Subin, entering with another stack of urgent messages, we now have 43 independent worlds requesting immediate diplomatic contact. 27 Council species have sent secret envoys asking for private negotiations. Even some of the core worlds are quietly reaching out through back channels. Quan smiled as he reviewed the latest reports and our standard response. We are too busy establishing new relationships with free worlds to discuss matters with council governments, Yang replied, but we are always happy to speak with independent planets that respect human sovereignty. The beautiful irony was not lost on either of them. For 50 years the council had been too busy to grant humans equal status. Now the tables had completely turned. Captain Parkman, who commanded the exploration vessel New Bizan as it surveyed unclaimed star systems in the far rim. His mission was part of the greatest expansion in human history. With council restrictions removed, human colony ships were spreading across the galaxy faster than ever before. Captain, we have identified 17 systems suitable for colonization, reported his science officer, Dr. Kim So-young. All of them are outside council territory and rich in resources. 3 systems have planets that could support millions of colonists. Park studied the sensor readings with satisfaction. Any signs of indigenous life. 2 systems have primitive ecosystems that we can protect while establishing colonies. The others are lifeless but perfect for industrial development, Kim replied. At this rate, we could establish 50 new human worlds within 5 years. The human expansion was not random conquest but careful strategic growth. Each new colony was placed to maximize defensive advantages and resource access. More importantly, each colony became a beacon for independent worlds seeking alternatives to council membership. Dr. Lim Haijin had transformed from a simple research scientist into the director of the Independent Medical Alliance. Her organization grew from a small human initiative to a galaxy-spanning network. In just 2 weeks, the Alliance provided medical aid to any world that requested help regardless of political affiliation. The quarantine protocols are working perfectly, she reported to President Yoon Dae-soo. During their weekly briefing, we have contained the vegan plague, eliminated the Centauri mining disease, and established clean zones around 24 systems. Our mobile hospitals are treating patients that Council Medical Services cannot reach. President Yoon nodded approvingly. And Council worlds still waiting for their medical bureaucracy to approve emergency treatments? Lim replied with a slight smile. Their people are suffering, but their governments refuse to accept help from non-council entities. Some worlds have been waiting 6 weeks for approval to receive basic medicines. The contrast was stark. Human medical teams could respond to emergencies within hours, while Council Medical Services required committees, meetings, and formal approvals that took months to complete. Independent worlds quickly learned which system actually prioritized saving lives. Finance Minister Ru Jun-ho presented the most remarkable statistics to the Federation leadership. Sir 17 Council species have secretly requested emergency economic assistance. Their economies are collapsing without human trade networks. The consortium currency has lost 70% of its value. 3 major commercial alliances have completely dissolved. General No Minsu added his own observations. Our intelligence reports massive social unrest on 67 council worlds. Their populations are demanding to know why their governments rejected human partnership. Students are protesting on university campuses. Workers are striking at major industrial facilities. Some planets are seeing organized resistance movements. The most telling development came from the border regions. Entire sectors were declaring independence from the council and requesting admission to the Human Federation. The rigid hierarchical structure that had dominated the galaxy for millennia was crumbling under its own weight. They are calling it the Great Unraveling, reported Intelligence Director Kim Soo-young. Council authority is disappearing faster than their economists thought possible. Independent worlds are forming new alliances based on mutual respect rather than ancient hierarchies. The humans proved something fundamental about galactic politics. Real power did not come from sitting at the head of a council table or commanding others to obey. Real power came from being the civilization that others wanted to work with rather than the one they were forced to follow. Captain Choi Jae-won commanded the defensive platform called Harmony Station, positioned at the edge of human space. His facility monitored council military movements and provided early warning for human colonies. When Council Admiral Crix approached with a battle fleet, Choi was ready. Admiral, this is Captain Choi of Harmony Station. You are approaching human Federation territory. Please state your intentions. Admiral Crix appeared on the communication screen, his scarred face showing frustration and desperation. Captain Choi, I am here under Council authority to escort human vessels back to Council space for emergency negotiations. Choi studied the tactical display showing 12 Council warships. Admiral, I must inform you that you have no authority in Human Federation space. Our government withdrew from all Council agreements. Your warships are now foreign military vessels in our territory. Captain, be reasonable, Crix replied. The galaxy is falling apart without human participation. We need to discuss terms for your return to Council membership. Admiral, with respect, we are not interested in returning to an organization that treated us as second-class members. Choi said calmly, if the Council wishes to negotiate, they can send diplomatic envoys through proper channels like any other foreign government. The exchange was broadcast across the galaxy and became a symbol of the new reality. The mighty Council military could not even approach human space without permission. The species that had once been dismissed as junior partners now commanded respect through strength and independence. Economic reports continued to paint a devastating picture for the Council. Trade between distant sectors had slowed to a crawl without human shipping networks. Essential goods were stranded at distribution centers without human logistics coordination. Industrial production was declining rapidly without human technical expertise. Dr. Yelenara delivered her most frightening analysis yet. The economic collapse is accelerating beyond our worst projections. 41 worlds have declared bankruptcy. 15 species have withdrawn from the Council Economic Union. The remaining trade networks are operating at less than 30% capacity, but while the Council economy collapsed, the Human Federation was experiencing unprecedented prosperity. Independent worlds were eagerly signing exclusive trade agreements with humans. The elimination of Council bureaucracy and restrictions allowed commerce to flow more freely than ever before. President Yoon addressed the Federation Council with remarkable statistics. Our economy has grown by 40% since withdrawal. New colonies are reporting resource discoveries that exceed our most optimistic projections. Trade with independent worlds has increased by 600%. Our people are experiencing the greatest period of prosperity in human history. The success was not just economic but social. Human colonies reported higher satisfaction rates than ever before. Without Council oversight, humans could govern themselves according to their own values and priorities. The stress of constantly proving themselves worthy had been replaced by the confidence of proven independence. Ambassador Quan received a secret communication that confirmed what many suspected. Sir, we have confirmation that 7 core worlds are privately discussing withdrawal from the Council. They have seen our success and they want to join the Human Federation. As equal partners, the message was clear. The galaxy was reorganizing itself around human leadership, not because humans had conquered anyone, but because they had proven themselves more capable of creating prosperity, peace, and progress than the ancient Council system. Schedule meetings with any species that wants to discuss partnership, Quan ordered, but make it clear that joining the Human Federation requires commitment to equality, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. We will not recreate the Council's mistakes in our own organization. The transformation was remarkable. The species that had been denied equal representation in the Council was now leading the formation of a new galactic order based on the principles the Council had rejected. The humans had not sought to destroy the old system, they had simply built a better alternative and let others choose as. Reports continued pouring in of Council failures and Federation successes. It became obvious that the galaxy was witnessing a changing of the guard. The age of hierarchical councils was ending and the age of cooperative federations was beginning. The humans had walked out as dismissed observers. 1 month after the Human Withdrawal, Council Speaker Vextari faced the most humiliating situation in 3,000 years of galactic history. The once mighty Council chamber was half empty, with dozens of species having declared independence or withdrawn their support. The few remaining delegates looked desperate and defeated. We must take decisive action, growled Admiral Crix, his warrior pride wounded by the ongoing catastrophe. The humans have disrupted galactic order through economic warfare. This is an act of aggression that demands military response. Dr. Yelenara's voice rose to a panicked squeak. Admiral, we cannot even maintain our own supply lines. How exactly do you propose we fight a species that built half our infrastructure? Our own warships require human-manufactured components for basic maintenance. The grim reality was undeniable. 3 major sectors had declared complete independence. 17 species had formally withdrawn from the Council. Economic collapse threatened every remaining member world. The great galactic civilization was dying, and everyone knew the humans were prospering. Perhaps we should consider negotiating, suggested diplomatic attaché Sylvana carefully. We could offer the humans expanded representation. Limited voting rights on economic matters, special status as senior advisors, absolutely not. Vextarius' crystalline form flared with desperate anger. The Council does not bow to demands from former subordinates. We maintain our authority and our dignity even if we stand alone. But even as she spoke, the reports grew worse. The Andromedans, one of the Council's founding species, had signed an exclusive defense treaty with the Human Federation, the Centauri. Republic was publicly debating withdrawal from the Council. Even the traditionally loyal Letharians were questioning Council leadership. Admiral Crix made his desperate move. I am authorizing military intervention. We will seize key human facilities and force them back to the negotiating table. A show of strength will remind the galaxy that the Council still has power. The plan was simple: capture a major human installation, hold it hostage, and demand negotiations. The target was Prometheus Station, a massive mining and research facility in the Proxima Centauri system. It seemed like an easy victory against a civilian target. Admiral Crix personally led the battle fleet, hoping to restore his reputation and Council authority. His flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was accompanied by 12 heavy cruisers carrying the best weapons in the Council arsenal. They expected to find a lightly defended mining station staffed by civilian workers. Instead, they found something that made their tactical computers scream warnings. Admiral reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Vexkin. The human facility is not what our intelligence suggested. That mining station has shield generators more powerful than our dreadnoughts. Those cargo ships have weapon signatures I cannot identify. Station Commander Lee Sang-ho appeared on the main communication screen. His expression was calm and professional, but his eyes held a dangerous gleam. Admiral Crix, you have entered Human Federation space without authorization. I must ask you to withdraw. Immediately, Crix tried to project the authority he had once commanded. Commander, I am here under Council mandate to restore order and reclaim Council property. You will surrender this facility and return to Council jurisdiction. Lee's smile was polite but completely cold. Admiral, there is no Council property in this system. There are only human assets protected by human defenses. You have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal, or we will consider your presence an act of war. You dare threaten a Council battle fleet? Crix snarled. You are a mining station with civilian workers, Admiral, Lee replied quietly. The Council spent 50 years telling us we were not ready for equal partnership. Did you really think we spent that time sitting still? The answer came in the form of weapon signatures that Council computers could not classify. The mining station's defensive systems were beyond anything in Council databases. The cargo ships revealed themselves as heavily armed vessels designed for combat. The asteroid itself was revealed to be a fortress that could have destroyed the entire Council fleet. Admiral, his tactical officer reported with obvious fear, their weapons are targeting our engines, navigation systems, power cores. They could disable our entire fleet without destroying us. Admiral Crix realized he was facing technology that surpassed Council capabilities by decades. The humans had not just been mining asteroids, they had been building secret military bases. The species dismissed as junior partners had developed weapons that made Council forces obsolete. Commander Lee, Crix said, swallowing his pride. Perhaps we can discuss this situation diplomatically, Admiral. The time for discussion was 1 month ago, when your Council had the chance to treat us as equals, Lee replied. Now you are foreign military forces in our sovereign territory. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The humiliated fleet withdrew, but the damage was done. Word spread quickly across the galaxy that the mighty Council military could not even capture a single human mining station. The last vestiges of Council authority crumbled overnight. Within hours, 6 more species declared independence from the Council. The great unraveling accelerated as worlds realized the Council could not protect them, could not provide for them, and could not even defend itself. Emergency Coordinator Zillaneth delivered the final devastating report to the remaining Council members. 57 worlds have now declared independence. 23 species have withdrawn from all Council agreements. 12 sectors have requested admission to the Human Federation. The Council now governs less than 30% of its former territory. Trade Minister Quillen made one last desperate proposal. Perhaps we could offer the humans complete autonomy, special status as an allied federation rather than member species. They already have complete autonomy, Admiral. Crix replied bitterly. They have their own government, their own military, their own economy. What could we possibly offer them that they do not already possess? The answer was nothing. The humans had built everything they needed while serving the Council faithfully. Now they had all the benefits of independence with none of the restrictions of membership. Council Speaker Vextari finally faced the truth she had been avoiding. How did we lose control so completely? We were the greatest civilization in galactic history. We ruled 1,000 worlds, commanded vast fleets, controlled interstellar commerce. Dr. Yelanara provided the painful answer. We ruled through fear and tradition. The humans led through service and innovation. When people had a choice between rulers and leaders, they chose leaders. When they could pick between commands and cooperation, they picked cooperation. The economic reports painted an even bleaker picture. The Council's remaining worlds were experiencing shortages of everything from food to medical supplies to basic industrial components. The complex supply chains that had sustained galactic civilization for millennia were completely broken. The humans did not destroy our economy. Finance Director Morgoth admitted. They revealed that our economy was completely dependent on their voluntary participation. When they stopped volunteering, everything collapsed. Admiral Crix studied the tactical reports with professional interest despite his personal humiliation. They planned this withdrawal for decades. Every major human facility had prepared defensive systems. Every important human position had trained successors. Every critical human service had backup plans. He paused to appreciate the scope of human planning. They served us loyally while preparing to leave us completely. They built our civilization while secretly building their own. They answered to our authority while developing their own power. It was the most sophisticated long-term strategy in military history. The final insult came when the Human Federation offered humanitarian aid to struggling Council worlds. The species that had been denied equal representation was now offering charity to their former rulers. The message was clear. Humans were not seeking revenge. They were demonstrating superior values. President Yunde Su addressed the galaxy through public broadcasts. The Human Federation offers assistance to any world in need, regardless of political affiliation. We do not require Council membership or political agreements. We help because it is right, not because we are commanded to help. The contrast was devastating. The Council ruled through commands and requirements. The Federation served through choice and generosity. Independent worlds saw which approach produced better results and made their decision accordingly. By the end of the month, the Great Galactic Council had been reduced to a minor regional organization controlling only the most stubborn core worlds. The species that had rejected human partnership now found themselves isolated and dependent on the very people they had dismissed. The humans had won the greatest victory in galactic history. Without firing a shot in anger, they had defeated the Council by refusing to serve it. They had conquered the galaxy by building something better and letting others choose freedom over tradition. Admiral Crix made his final report to the dying Council. The humans have achieved total strategic victory. They control the most prosperous worlds, command the most advanced technology, and lead the most popular government in the galaxy. They defeated us by proving themselves superior in every way that matters. The age of Council dominance was over. The age of human leadership had begun through the simple demonstration that respect must be earned, not demanded. 6 months after the historic human walkout, Ambassador Kim Tae-ho stood in the same Council chamber where everything had changed. But now, instead of the Galactic Council's rigid circular arrangement, the room had been transformed for the inaugural meeting of the Federation of Independent Worlds. The irony was perfect. The Council's own headquarters had been purchased by the Human League Coalition after the original organization's complete financial collapse. Former Council Speaker Vextari and her remaining supporters had been relocated to a much smaller facility on a minor trade world where they governed fewer than 20 systems. The motion passes unanimously. Tejo announced to the assembled delegates representing over 300 independent worlds. The Federation of Independent Worlds officially recognizes the sovereignty of all member species with equal representation regardless of military strength, economic power, or historical status. Dr. Park So-young, now serving as the Federation's chief science advisor, smiled as she watched species after species ratify the new charter. The Korean names that had once seemed foreign in these halls now commanded respect throughout the galaxy. Human leadership had proven itself. Through service rather than conquest, the transformation was remarkable. In just 6 months, the new Federation had accomplished more than the old Council had managed in decades. Scientific breakthroughs accelerated as species shared knowledge freely, without bureaucratic barriers. Trade flourished across the galaxy without restrictive regulations. Conflicts were resolved through mediation and mutual respect rather than military force. President Yoon Dae-soo delivered the closing address to the historic gathering. For too long, galactic civilization was built on hierarchy and control. Today we choose partnership and cooperation. The age of councils and empires is over. The age of federation has begun. The results spoke for themselves. The new federation operated with unprecedented efficiency and fairness. Research projects that the council had delayed for years were completed in months. Trade agreements that had required decades of negotiation were finalized in weeks. Diplomatic disputes that had festered for generations were resolved through honest dialogue. Captain Young Min-soo now served as director of the Federation Transport Authority, coordinating the most efficient shipping network in galactic history. His office overlooked the bustling spaceport of New Seoul Station, where ships from hundreds of worlds arrived daily carrying goods and passengers. The economic numbers are extraordinary. He reported to the Federation leadership. Trade volume has increased by 400% since the Federation was established. Average shipping times have decreased by 60%. Customer satisfaction ratings are at historic highs. The contrast with the dying council could not have been starker. The Federation's member worlds reported unprecedented prosperity, while the council's remaining territories struggled with shortages and economic decline. Independent worlds continued abandoning the council to join the Federation in growing numbers. General Lee Min-ho had been appointed as the Federation's first defense coordinator. His job was not to command vast armies, but to coordinate mutual defense agreements between member worlds. The Federation military was based on cooperation rather than domination. We now have defense treaties with 412 independent worlds, he reported. Our combined fleet strength exceeds anything the galaxy has ever seen. But more importantly, our member worlds trust each other enough to share military technology and strategic planning. The Federation had solved the fundamental problem that had plagued galactic civilization. Species working together by choice were far more effective than species forced together by authority. When people wanted to cooperate, they achieved remarkable things. Dr. Lim Hae-jin's Independent Medical Alliance had evolved into the Federation Health Service, providing medical care to any world that requested assistance. Her organization had eliminated 6 major plagues, established medical schools on dozens of worlds, and created the most advanced healthcare network in galactic history. We have achieved something unprecedented, she told the Federation Council. Universal health care for any species that wants it, regardless of their ability to pay. Medical knowledge shared freely between all worlds. Emergency response times measured in hours instead of months. The Federation's success was built on principles the Council had rejected. Every member world had equal representation. Regardless of size or strength, every species could contribute according to their abilities and receive according to their needs. Leadership positions were earned through service rather than inherited through tradition. Finance Minister Ru Junho presented statistics that amazed even the optimistic Federation leadership. Our combined economy is now larger than the old Council's economy ever was. Trade disputes have decreased by 90%. Economic growth rates are the highest in recorded galactic history. The most remarkable achievement was cultural. The Federation had created something unique in galactic history, a truly multicultural civilization, where different species maintained their identities while working toward common goals. The rigid hierarchies that had defined galactic politics for millennia had been replaced by flexible partnerships. Ambassador Huan Xiaojin received the final diplomatic triumph when former council speaker Vextari herself requested a private meeting. Her once proud crystalline form now flickered with dim, uncertain light as she entered his office. Ambassador Xiaowan, she began hesitantly. I come to you not as a representative of the council, but as a private citizen seeking guidance, Huan gestured. For her to sit, though her crystalline form simply hovered above the offered chair. What can I do for you, former speaker? My world wishes to apply for Federation membership, she said quietly. Our people have seen the prosperity and peace that Federation worlds enjoy. They want to be part of something that actually works. Quan nodded thoughtfully. Applications are reviewed by the membership committee according to standard procedures. Every world is evaluated on the same criteria regardless of their past affiliations. But surely our previous opposition to human equality will count against us, Vextari said, her light patterns showing shame and regret. The Federation does not punish worlds for their government's past mistakes. Quan replied, we evaluate current commitment to Federation principles, equality, mutual respect, and peaceful cooperation. If your world genuinely supports these values, your application will be considered fairly. The former council speaker's relief was visible in her brightening light patterns. Thank you, Ambassador. Your people have shown more mercy than we showed wisdom. As the delegation meetings concluded, Ambassador Kim Tae-ho reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought them to this moment. The council had made a fundamental error. They had confused political authority with actual leadership. They had assumed that commanding obedience was the same as earning respect. The humans had taught the galaxy a different lesson. Real leadership came from service. Real authority came from trust. Real power came from being the civilization that others wanted to work with rather than the one they were forced to follow. Sir, Captain Yang Subin approached with the final report of the day. The last council holdout worlds are submitting membership applications. Even the core worlds have voted to dissolve their remaining council agreements. Tae-ho smiled as he looked around the great chamber that had once symbolized galactic oppression and now represented galactic freedom. Schedule them for a standard review process. No special treatment, but no discrimination either. That is what equality means. As the delegates from hundreds of worlds filed out of the chamber, chattering excitedly about cooperative projects and shared goals, Tae-ho felt a deep satisfaction. The humans had walked out of this room 6 months ago as dismissed observers. They were walking back in as respected leaders of a new galactic civilization. The transformation was complete. The species that had been denied equal representation had created a government based on equality. The people who had been treated as servants had become leaders through service. The civilization that had been rejected by the old order had built a better order that welcomed everyone. Sometimes the best way to change an unfair system was not to fight it from within, but to build something better from the outside, and let others choose which future they preferred. The galaxy had chosen. The age of human leadership had begun not through conquest or coercion, but through the simple demonstration that cooperation worked better than control. The great chamber fell quiet as the last delegates departed, but the silence was not empty like the dying council chambers. It was peaceful, like a job well done. The humans had kept their promise. They had walked out and built something better. Now the entire galaxy was walking in to join them. The Federation of Independent Worlds represented everything the old council had failed to become: a truly representative government where every voice mattered, a cooperative civilization where every species could thrive, a peaceful order where conflicts were resolved through dialogue rather than force. As Tae-ho turned off the lights and secured the chamber for the night, he whispered words that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Sometimes you have to walk away to show them the path forward. The humans had walked out in protest. They were walking back in as leaders of a new age.